Welcome to the first part of a 6-part video series exploring the complicated world of the X-Men timeline. Fans who have at least watched Days of Future and Past know how confusing the timeline can get at times, so I've decided to lay it all out into 6 concise videos explaining all the big plot points, confusing points, and everything in between. For this first part, we'll be talking about all of the events before X-Men First Class. Now, one thing to make clear before we start is that all of this is canon, or in other words, happens in both the original timeline, X-Men, X-Men 2, X-Men 3, and in the revised version, all the movies after Days of Future and Past. So everything I talk about in this video will still apply for every future video. Let's start, shall we? First off, in 8000 BC, yes, that long ago, and bear with me here, Enzohabner, or like I call him, Apocalypse, was born. The first mutant ever, quite a powerful one in fact, which is funny because in the X-Men trilogy, Professor Xavier talks about mutants like a very recent evolution, which this obviously disproves that. There isn't an exact date, but before 3600 BC, he conquers many civilizations and he builds the pyramids in Egypt, which I gotta say is cool as hell. Now in 3600 BC is where the plot really begins. We won't talk about this for another 4 videos, so I'll make it quick. Apocalypse is transferring his body, which is one of his various powers. I'll put a list of them on the screen. The henchmen of the Apocalypse, Death, Pestilence, Famine, and War, who are all mutants as well, are assisting him. He's transferring his body into a mutant with a healing factor, but his so-called worshippers who were plotting a rebellion attacked, causing the Grand Pyramid they were in to collapse. Those henchmen manages to encase him in a bubble, putting him in a 1,000-year nap, or until 1883 in the revised timeline. Now, in 1000 BC, we see the first ever mention of the Phoenix Force, a powerful cosmic energy that destroys a planet housing the Dabari Empire. There's only a few survivors, and for some reason, they want to keep the power for themselves, so they follow it for the next few thousand years, give or take. Totally normal. 1832, James Howlett, aka Logan, aka Wolverine, is born in what will be the Northwest Territory of Canada. In 1845, he lays sick in bed with his brother, Victor Creed, at his side. His supposed father is also there, but soon leaves after he hears a commotion at the front door. It's a man who turns out to be James's bio dad, and that dude kills his supposed father, causing James to show his mutant abilities, skeleton claws. He kills his bio dad and runs away with his brother. Now, through 1861 to 1865, James and Victor fight in the Civil War for the Union. Then again in 1917 through 1918, they both fight in World War I. 1930, we see the birth of Eric Langstier. 2 years after that, 1932, Charles Xavier was born. And 2 years after that, 1934, Raven Darkholme was born. And 6 years after that, 1940, Hank McCoy was born. 1944 brings us to the ever heartbreaking scene of Eric Langstier separated from his parents at Auschwitz, where he consequently first shows his abilities bending metal, and because of this, Sebastian Shaw starts to experiment on him. At the same time in England, Charles Xavier catches Raven Darkholme posing as his mother trying to steal food. Charles welcomes her into his home and the two become pseudo-siblings. James Howlett in 1945 says Ichiru Shirida, sorry for any butchering, while imprisoned at a POV camp during the Nagasaki bombings. Wow. In 1949, Eric Langstier visits America for the first time, and sometime before 1962, he goes back to Europe. 1950, a slightly historic moment, Sebastian Shaw starts the Hellfire Club as a front for a mutant supremacy operation. He recruits Riptide and Azazel, 2 mutants, as his henchmen. Here's another semi-important event that is kinda not so important later on. 1956, Eric Langstier has a brief affair with Magna Maximoff, resulting in the birth of Pietro Maximoff, aka Peter, aka Quicksilver, aka a messy copyright character between Fox and Disney. Another clear-up, Wanda Maximoff technically isn't in the X-Men movies, so Magna Maximoff only gave birth to one boy, not twins. There's this whole complicated legal issue between Fox and Disney on character rights. As we all know, the Maximoff twins both appeared in Avengers Age of Ultron, though Pietro gets killed off at the end because of copyright. Marvel couldn't use Quicksilver after this movie, though they could use Wanda, so yeah, there's 2 versions of Quicksilver out in the universe, but Peter's obviously the better one. Anyways, 1959, Emma Frost joins the Hellfire Club, and an important character, William Stryker, begins to experiment on mutants at this time. That's it for part 1 of 6. Next time, we'll dive straight into X-Men First Class, all the way to 1973. So please stay tuned, and have a good night.